Hello, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Buy Michigan. Property Stress Solved, your expert maintenance and alteration partner. Today we will be discussing how people can literally take their home and create it now as not only a home for themselves as well as a possibility as a home for someone else. Normally, when someone has you think of buying a home, you pretty much think of your home and that's pretty much it. Everyone's been, including one of my persons that I listen to and watch often, Grant Cardone, as well as Dave Ramsey. I think they both talk about how either you shouldn't buy a home and you should only rent, or one of them is you shouldn't buy a home and you should only rent. The other one I think is you buy a home, but everyone seems to think of a home being a liability. I completely and always disagree because depending on how you buy your home, the initial purchase can immediately create your home as an asset where you have equity immediately after purchase. And sometimes that is often possible. Often the sellers want a certain amount. However, a lot of times sellers are just interested in getting a certain goal accomplished. So if you can accomplish that goal for that seller, you would be able to actually purchase your property below the full market value, and therefore creating your house as an asset, or your home or your first time purchase as an asset. If you are a first time home buyer, a retiree, or even a veteran, in these instances, your home could immediately become an asset. Imagine this just for a minute. Instead of you, or even if you bought a a home that would allow you to divide off part of the home and even perhaps have an additional access, you could rent or room that part of your home out for additional income, thereby instantly creating your home as an asset. In addition, if you perhaps have this thought, what if if you're a first time home buyer or retiree veteran, you can buy these purchases as a occupant. Even if you're an investor and you buy it as an occupant and you occupy, let's just say it was a two-family flat and you or a duplex and you occupy either the other side or one of the flats, you could take the other flat and or a duplex and either rent out the one side as one unit or literally change that one unit into possibly three units by dividing the rooms up into individual rooms and therefore boarding those rooms out, making it affordable for people who are good people who are getting themselves together or just are on assistance from being handicapped or veterans. Everybody has to start thinking and remembering we all had a place in life, and some people are on a different part of their journey than you are. So you can actually assist someone with having somewhere affordable to live rather than somewhere that cripples them where they can barely pay the bill and you have to eventually throw them out. This is perfect for areas near schools, excellent for students, as well as seniors or veterans or single people without children, because they could really utilize that room while they decide where and what they're going to do in life, and you provide an additional unit. So if you bought a one unit, that's just for you. If you bought a two unit, a duplex or a flat, that means there's three additional rooms, possibly two to three additional rooms for someone else. If you bought a something that was a can be developed as three units, like I remember there are perfect examples in Detroit because of our beautiful landscape and architecture. Excuse me for a moment, please. A lot of the actual homes in the Detroit, Michigan area will, with proper, if you have proper exits, you can room out the rooms in your basement. Like, for example, a three-bedroom could become a, if uh if you completely divide it up, even making, let's say, if, for example, well, first let's stick with the multi-unit. So you have the multi-unit where you have the three units, and you take that three unit and you have three separate units where each unit can have two to three possible tenants in it, dividing up the rooms and making each room a separate unit. When I had the pleasure of riding my auntie around, she told me stories of how in the 50s they used to rent out their rooms to people for additional income. And they would do things such as, in those days, even, well, let me finish I'll go ahead and jump to that first. Well, let me finish the three family, the three unit. So, a lot of times these duplexes in Detroit, or these two family flats, really have an additional attic space that can become a complete unit, where you put a kitchen and a bathroom in that unit, making it a unit on the first level, a unit on the second level, and then an additional unit on the third level, all having their own entrance and access. This allows for you to have a total of two units for income while you're living in one of them. And you could Airbnb that one of those units, and also have one of those units where you literally have rooms for rent or rent to a tenant. And that is for first time home buyers, as well as veterans. So veterans, a lot of these veterans out here are unfortunately homeless. Now you, as a veteran, can take another veteran off the homeless list, or one veteran can take another veteran who is someone can who is a so get this, you literally as a homeless veteran could apply, get a home, and then take somebody else off the homeless veteran list. Or you as a veteran could utilize your VA loan and buy a home for yourself and also still provide a place to live for one or numerous veterans in a two-family flat or a duplex or a triplex. You create the additional 3 units, and you can do this all the way up to 4 units. So Detroit has a lot of 4 unit properties where you can literally take those 4 units, take one of them, live in that 1 unit, take the additional 3 units, turn those all into rooming rooms, or additional, just you could either make it 3 additional units charging per unit, or mix it up where you have some units where you charge per unit and other units where you might charge per room. It is all on your decision. However, it's on you. And this is perfect, especially if you might be someone who, whether you're working or not working, if you're not working, this would actually become your income and a way for you to make income while providing a place for other people to live. If you are working, you're gone most of the time, and someone else, while you're not home, is actually making you money just by them watching TV and living their lives. It's a win 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 for everyone. If you're a VA, you can utilize your VA loan and you can get in no money down, where it's win 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 win. Win. To paraphrase the gentleman that remind me of the Rat Pack, Frank, Sammy, and Dean, Chico, DC, and Carlos Miller. Win. Which is the Rat Pack, what I call the new Rat Pack, the 85 South Show, where they did a very funny skit on the life and times of different family members. So, this is an excellent opportunity for you as a first-time home buyer, a veteran, a home buyer, or even an investor. Because the one thing I did not mention is, as an investor, you may still have to put down your percentages. However, you have situations where you would not have to even be concerned about your actual credit score or income, because you would be doing what is called a DCSR loan. Oh gosh, I forget what it actually stands for. However, basically what it is you are able to prove that after the rehab or completion of your home, you will have income coming in for a certain amount to pay your mortgage and fees. And what you do is, as soon as I, I even say before you even start to completely get your home situated, you start looking for, start looking in the various ads and seeing about people looking for, like what are rooms going for in that area at that particular time. And then, just start going around to, ask at your church and, ask about people who would be a good fit for the situation. On another day, we'll go through how to screen for tenants. However, today we're just talking about the great possibility of you taking these various grants and programs and loan programs and utilizing them to get you into a home for low to no money down. And as I was speaking before, when I was talking about my auntie, we were discussing the idea of rooms for rent. And if even if you have a 3 bedroom, 1 or 2 bath, I say preferably if you're gonna create it as a room and board house or a rooming house, I would say 2 bathrooms, because a 2 bathroom gives you the ability of people to be able to use more than one bathroom. You at least need to have a 1.5 bath. That way persons can, at least utilize the facilities if need be, if someone else is in the bathroom in emergency situations. And what you then do or can do is, I forget what the exact phrase is it, because I'm learning it actually in my classes. However, if your home has a certain amount of clearance for a lower bedroom, like let's say in the basement, you can actually turn your basement into a room as well and add an additional room in your basement if you have a access for your family member to, excuse me, not family, well, it could be family member or a friend to access through that window safely. There are a lot of great things you can do. So you can literally turn a 3 bedroom bungalow that has an area in the basement where you can create as a room into a, let's see, imagine you could turn, let's say you keep a room for yourself. The room for yourself might be the, oh, you know what? If I was keeping the room for myself, it might even be the room in the basement. And then I would even put a kitchenette for myself in the basement. Or if I kept a room for myself, because you could really plush out your room in the basement. So let's say you plushed out your room in the basement, or you could put it, like wherever you put a room. Let's just say how many rooms you could actually, let's say forget about yourself for the moment, and let's just talk about how many rooms you could create as a rooming room in a house, because this is what my auntie said people used to do. They used to live in one room and rent the rest of the rooms out. So for example, in a 3 bedroom, the typical 3 bedroom bungalow, you could take the living room and create that as a room. That's one. You could take the dining room and create that as a room. That's 2 rooms. You could take the 2 bedrooms that are normally in the bungalow in the rear and create those both as rooms. That's 4 bedrooms. And then if you take the room that's in the basement and create that as a room, that's 5 bedrooms. So that's one, two, three, four. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot the upstairs room and the upstairs room of the bungalow, which makes it six. So that's a total of 6 rooms that can be rented out in the house. You take one room for yourself, and then you rent out the additional rooms. You can rent out the additional rooms, whichever room you decide not to live in. So let's say that you decided to give the participants, because if you had I know you're like, how are you gonna do that? Okay, the dining room has in a bungalow has a room that leads to the kitchen. You put a door on that room. The living room has a door that leads to the hallway in a bungalow. When you go in the front door, you walk past the kitchen. I mean, you walk past that room. That living room now becomes a nice suite and it has its own entrance. So you can actually have that as your premium room or either even as your room because it's the room with the only access for you. That's one. Then, in addition, you could also take the rear bedrooms, of course, and make those rooms, and the upstairs room, make that a room. Me now thinking the way I think I would actually lay carpeting and excuse me, a sound proof for the floors, and I would live in the lower flat or in the basement with creating an egress, or it might for myself. And laws might even be more lenient because the room would be for yourself, and literally have your own kitchen and your own bath on the lower level and have the egress or the rather the room where you have your safety exit where you can leave out of the window and have the room constructed as that. That way you'd have your own separate home on you could live in the basement or the lower flat and then literally rent out the dining room, the living room, and the dining room, living room, the two rear rooms, and the upstairs room for income. Great space. Or you could take, so that's like, let's just say if that's just $500 a room. So that's 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. And if you take one of those rooms off, and let's just say you kept maybe the living room or the dining room as an area for people to commune in, then that would be as opposed to 20, let's see, one, two, three, four, five, as opposed to 2,500, that's still $2,000. And that's $2,000 a month at only $500 a room. So there's so many different things you can do to create your single family home as income in addition to taking a duplex or a two family flat, creating that as income. And this is all as still a first time home buyer, a veteran, or a home buyer, and not having the issue of multifamily usages because you would only be buying your single family home and then dividing it or buying your duplex which or multifamily or two family flat and or four unit or triplex and still utilizing it as a first time home buyer because you live there. And if you're an investor, this would be a great time for you to live in one of the units and actually use the occupancy as one of your units as your home base if you don't have somewhere to live. If you do have somewhere to live, you can still utilize the various programs and such as the DSCR loan, or if you're a veteran, there might be various things you still can do with low to no money down with you being a veteran and you buy because you would still be I don't know how the lending loans are, but I know you can utilize I've been told you can utilize your VA loan for investment property. So once I find out a little bit more information about that, I'll let you know. However, the one thing I can definitely let you know is that you definitely have the opportunity to utilize a first time home buyer as a resident of the home. So utilize these opportunities because you can, because they're available for you to utilize them. So please give us a call at 313-288-0675. That's 313-288-0675. Or you can go to buymi.net. That's buy Michigan on the web, buymichigan.net, to find out about our various, well, not our various programs, but the great programs we found out about to assist the first time home buyer as well as the veteran to purchase their homes, get the rehab done, and walk into their home where it's not a liability, walk into your home where it's an asset. Please give us a call at 313-288-0675. Thank you very much and have a good day. Have a good week and have a good life. Bye bye.